Hello there, friends, admirers, outcasts, and whoever else may be out there listening. Welcome to the Morgue.
I'd be happy to put you there. In the morgue.
Hi guys, my name is Barry and welcome back to the channel and welcome to episode 2 of The Morgue. This is obviously a Scream podcast and I have Sister Pam with me, and always pointing the wrong way. Sister Pam is with me today. Pam is obviously a massive Scream fan as well. How are you doing today, Pam?
I am good. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. Again, I've not had the chance to do a lot of Scream podcast videos. I've got 2 separate ones. I've got one called Double Scoops, which is my Halloween one, and I've got the Scream one. So this is only my second episode for the Scream one. I have asked a few people if they want to do a Scream one with me, and they say, "Oh, can I just do Halloween instead?" And I'm like, "Okay, then, okay." So I've only had 2 chances to do this so far, so I'm glad that you've agreed to come on, Pam, and we can we'll discuss all things Scream, of course, but I think some of the main topics is obviously going to be about Scream 7 and the fact that we both, well, hope that Stu might return to Scream 7. But before we begin anything, are you excited for Scream 7?
I'm so excited. I am so pumped. I can't wait. I'm so happy we just got the release date, announcement. Super excited.
Did you notice as well? I didn't notice this myself. Someone else pointed it out that the release date is 27th of February 2026. So that is this new trilogy was 2022, 2023, and 2026. So that's like a year apart for the first 2, and then they wait 3 years, and they've done the exact same with the first trilogy.
Yeah, it's crazy how that works out. I don't know. Is it on purpose or is it just coincidence?
Well, it could be on purpose because they could easily bring this film out late 2025 if they really want to.
Yeah.
Unless there's some issues with getting people on board or changing the script up, etc. I know that they want to keep the script quite tight as well. Anytime Kevin Williamson is involved in not just a Scream film, but any film, I think they try and keep things under wraps quite a lot. So that tends to happen. I'll go into the chat first before we even discuss anything. I'll go into the chat, just say hello to people who have said hello first of all, and then we can just get into our main topics. And if anybody in the chat wants to ask questions or discuss anything, by all means, please do so. So who's in? We've got Justin's here. Hi, Justin.
Hey, Justin.
Horror Paradise. Aye, that means yes in Scottish. Thomas Baker's here. Hey, Thomas. Cynthia J's here. Hi, Cynthia. And Gary's here. Gary Sim. Hey, how you doing, Gary? Oh, and we've got our first question. Stu is coming back from Ronaldo.
I hope so.
Yes, let's say he is coming back. And Wrestling God says hey as well. So chat amongst yourselves as well, guys. Again, if you want to ask questions, if you want to ask Pam anything as well, then please do. So I know that some of Pam's subscribers are probably going to come over and ask a few questions. So by all means, ask away. But yeah, going back to we won't discuss Stu yet because I know that it's quite a hot topic, but going back to the release date of February 2026. I remember, I don't think you'll be old enough for this, Pam, but I remember when Scream 3 was announced, and I think it was the 4th of February 2000. This was coming out. This was like my most anticipated horror film since the Scream films began. And I was just so excited for that build-up of it. It came out in February in the US, but unfortunately for me, I had to wait till April 2000 in the UK to see it. Yeah, it's a bit of a bummer. And even at that, I still couldn't see it because I wasn't old enough to see it at the cinema. So I had to wait till it came out in VHS. But what's your introduction to the Scream franchise? I know you've probably discussed it on your channel, but for my guys, how did you get into Scream? Because I know that, I don't want to ask your age, but I know that you're a lot younger, so you would have saw it at a later date, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I don't really remember the first time I saw the first one. I do remember watching the second one on cable when I was very young with my sister. And the opening scene with Phil, when Phil gets killed in the bathroom stall, that really stuck with me as a kid. So that's really like my first memory. I was very young. I don't even know. But yeah, I mean, even before Scream 5 came out, I was already a huge fan, but it really wasn't until 5 came out that I became like absolutely obsessed because, I never thought that this franchise would come back like this.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, that's true, and it's the same with the Halloween franchise. Even though
mhm.
people love the Halloween franchise, we didn't get that resurgence until Halloween 2018 because it's catered for the modern audience and it brings back all the previous Halloween films before it. And the same thing happened with Scream. Scream 4, I love Scream 4, but it kind of died out because the film
Mhm.
box office, it didn't even make $100 million. And
Right.
we thought that was the end, especially after the passing of Wes Craven. But
Yeah.
here we are, 2 films later, and a third one on the way in the reboot
Mhm.
series, and we're still going strong. And we've got that new batch of Scream fans out there. But it's funny because even though you started getting back into Scream after Scream 5, you seem the type that loves the original trilogy more because
Oh yeah.
your characters that you love are ones from the original trilogy, aren't they?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
I love Stu, I love Randy. Randy's probably my favorite.
Mhm.
And I do love Scream 4. Scream 4 is the first one that I saw in theaters, and I was obsessed when I first saw that one. So, yeah, I definitely love the original ones a lot more, for sure.
Yeah. But the first one I saw at the cinema was Scream 4 as well.
Mhm.
And I remember going to see it with my wife, and my wife's cousin wanted to see it, but she couldn't make it. So we pretended that we didn't go and see it.
Oh,
So we went again for a second time, pretending it was our first time going to
oh,
see it.
wow.
So we watched it because we obviously knew who the killers were. And she's like, "Oh, I
Mhm.
wonder who the killers are." And we're like, "Well, I wonder who they are. I don't know." So we had to keep
Yeah.
it under wraps. But yeah, I went to see Scream 4 for the first. That was the first one I went to see, and I saw it twice.
Mhm.
So I was really happy
Mhm.
with that. When you did you go to the cinema to see Scream 5? I bet you did.
I didn't actually
Oh,
because it was, like, in the middle of the pandemic, kind
I
of.
suppose, yeah.
I wasn't really living near a movie theater, and I didn't see it in theaters.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It was some experience in the cinema because of that Dewey scene. Like I
Mhm.
was like 13 when I watched Scream for the first time, and I loved Dewey.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
just watching from 1996 up into 2022 of this character that I grew up with and loved, and just
Mhm.
seeing what happened to him in Scream 5, I had a tear in my eye. The whole cinema went completely silent as
Yeah.
well, and we were kind of blown away by it. But yeah,
Mhm.
that was a kind of shocking moment. But these are the moments that we go
Absolutely.
and see these films for. Did you see Scream 6 at the cinema?
I did, yes. I
Yeah,
did.
that was quite a rowdy bunch in there. Um,
Mhm.
wh- Scream 6 for me is the worst in the franchise, but
Really?
yes, but I still like it. Now, when I tell
Same.
people, yeah, when I say to people, Scream 6 is the worst in the franchise, people like get down in my throat saying,
Right.
you hate Scream 6." I'm like, no, 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 no. Scream is a strong franchise. The worst film in
Yeah,
the franchise is good, and that's Scream 6.
exactly. Mhm.
What are your feelings of Scream 6, like from then until now? Like, has your feelings changed towards it for the better or the worse?
Um, it's grown on me a little bit. I'll admit when I first walked out of the movie theater, I was a little disappointed. I was a
Mhm.
little disappointed with the Ghostface reveal. Um, I
Yeah.
do still think that it's the weakest reveal, even though, in my opinion, I think the third one is the worst movie overall. Scream 6 is my second to last.
Mhm.
Um, but I don't know. I guess my feelings on Scream 6 have kind of stayed the same, like just disappointed with the final act. It could have been so much better. I think they should have taken more time to get the movie right. It was kind of rushed.
Yeah.
It only came out a year after the fifth one. So, yeah, I always say, like, down the road, my opinion on the movies can change a little bit. Like, I'm kind of torn on where to place 3 and 6. They're kind of tied for last place. Like,
Mhm.
it can always change down the road.
Yeah, but at one point I had Scream 2 as my least favorite,
Oh,
and then
wow.
that climbed the ranks up, and it's now my second favorite. Um,
Oh,
so you never know. Like I've not seen Scream 6 for a good 6 or 7 months.
oh, wow.
Maybe maybe watching it again will change my opinion on it. But I was the
Mhm.
same with you. I was loving Scream 6 right up to that reveal, and then it just got very comical after the reveal of the three killers, and
Yes.
I didn't know how to feel about it. So I left the cinema, and I'm like, did I like that or did I
Right.
not? You know,
Yeah.
it was a strange feeling. Again, it's
Mhm.
still a good film, but I think it would have been
Mhm.
stronger had the reveal been better, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
I'll go into the chat again just to because there's more people coming in as well. Van der Hoff is here. Hello, how you doing, Van der Hoff? Cynthia said, if Stu comes back, how do you think they will bring him back? Well, we won't answer that yet, Cynthia, because that's going to be one of the main topics. We obviously don't know for definite if he's coming back or how he will come back, but we'll give our thoughts and opinions on that as well. So stay tuned for that. Ronaldo said, one of my favorite YouTube channels. You have great content, Barry. Keep going strong. Halloween is here. Oh, thanks very much, Ronaldo. I thought Ronaldo was one of your guys, no?
I don't know, maybe.
I don't know. Ronaldo, I don't think you've ever commented before, but welcome if it's your first time. Thomas Baker said, the first time I watched the first Scream movie was during AMC Fear Fest when I was in high school. Do you know, I hear people talk about Fear Fest all the time. We don't have AMC in the UK. Well, we didn't at the time.
Really? Wow.
Yes, people always say, I saw this movie for the first time on AMC Fear Fest. Do you have AMC Fear Fest?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't even know what that is, to be honest. So it's just something that we miss out on because we're from the UK.
It's just a marathon of horror movies.
Oh, that sounds good though.
Yeah.
We don't even have an equivalent, so
Wow.
for sure. David Effrey, how you doing, David? Hey, everyone. Hey there, Barry. Hi, Sister Pam. Hope you're
Hey,
doing good, David.
Gaby.
I'm doing a live stream with Davey in 2 days on
Nice.
a Halloween stream. Jenks is in the house. Twisted Locker. Great show, Barry. Love Scream 1 and 5. That's a strange combination, Jenks. 1 and 5. How do you rank 5, Pam?
I do like it a lot more than 6. It feels
Right.
more like a Scream movie to me.
Mhm.
I mean, for me, it goes 1, 4, 2, 5, 6, 3. So 5's kind of in the middle.
Yeah, I'm not far off. I'm 1, 2, 4. Then it's 5, 3, 6 at the moment. But again, it can always change. Like
Right.
2 just keeps on going up. I'm scared to watch 2 again just in case I like it better than the original. But
No, that can never happen.
I know. I'm only joking. I think sometimes I do like my top 10 horror movies of all time, and Halloween is my favorite horror movie of all time. But I'll be honest though, when it comes to ranking number 1 and 2, it's Halloween then Scream. But there are times I sit and think to myself, do I like Scream better? And I just always fight the urge and just go, it's number 2. But you never know, it could come right back up there.
Yeah.
Is Scream your favorite movie or horror movie?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Favorite movie ever.
Right. It's understandable. David Effrey said, yes, Scream 6 is the worst. Yep, that's the worst. But again, it's not bad. Not bad. Horror Paradise said, I grew up on the original 4, but I couldn't see 5 in the theatres because it was so bad here. I saw 6 in theatres. That was my first ever Scream experience in theatres as a legal adult. I was so happy. I don't know if you got it in your area, but we got a 25th anniversary screening of Scream in the UK. And I managed to get tickets, and I saw it in December 2021. It was just a month. It was a month before the release of Scream 5. So I saw the original Scream at the cinema, and there was people next to me who had not seen it before. So
wow.
Yeah, it was a great experience listening to them. Usually I don't like people like jumping about in the cinema, but because I'd seen the movie, I didn't have to concentrate, So when there was watching people saying like, oh, what's happening? I'm like, well, this is good. I'm actually watching the film and these people's reactions. It's a great experience.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. I'll do a couple more comments, guys, and then we'll get back into the discussion. Son of Ya Chosen One said, what up, Barry and Pam? Watching T3 tomorrow. Terrifier free. Yes, so am I. I've got the tickets booked. Are you going to see that?
No, I probably can't go till next week, so I have to avoid spoilers till then.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've seen a few spoilers, not too spoilerific, but I've tried to kind of block it out because
Hmm.
I'm going to see it tomorrow. So, Justin said, I wouldn't say it's a strong franchise. I only really liked 1 and 4. The rest are just so bland. Well, that's a shame.
Interesting.
Yeah, Justin, I am blocking you as we speak. I'm only joking. Yeah, I mean, there are people who still don't like Scream 2. Like me, I didn't love it, but
Hmm.
I grew to love it. Scream 3 is questionable, but still enjoyable as well. But
Yeah.
I can see why people would say that. Mark Jones, hey Barry, Pam, folks. Good to see two of my favorite YouTubers. Well, thanks very much, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
That's very kind of you. So I want to talk about Stu, but I'll wait. Okay, I'll wait. The first thing I want to ask you is, how do you feel about Neve Campbell returning? Did you think she was going to return after what happened in 5 and 6?
Yeah, I felt so hopeful. I just felt it in my bones. Like, this is what
Mm,
we need. She needs to come back. I felt like it was the only thing that was going to make Scream 7 work. If
yeah,
it was going to be like a total reboot, I, of course, still would have been excited to see it, but it needed to be Nev, in my opinion.
yeah, I agree. Now, outside of Stu and any other characters that we kind of know is coming back, like Gale, is there any other characters in the franchise that didn't die for definite that you would like to see return off the top of your head, if you know any?
I would love to see Joel the cameraman.
Yeah, yeah,
I love Joel, and apparently he was in the original script for Scream 6.
right.
If this is true, like he was going to return back when Sydney was still in the script, but then once she dropped out, they got rid of Joel coming back. So, I mean, I would love to see him kind of work with Gail one last time.
Yeah, never say never. Like, he would be an interesting one because he obviously knows when to quit.
Hmm.
So it would be good to see him return as Joe. I liked him,
Yeah.
Dwayne Martin. He doesn't do much anymore, so I don't think they need to throw a lot of money at him to bring
Yeah.
him back. So
Yeah.
he would be an interesting one. One I think will probably return. Well, when I say probably, it depends. Martha, is it Martha?
Martha Meeks.
Martha, yeah, I was questioning
Hmm.
myself. Yeah, Martha. I think she will return if Chad and or Mindy
Yeah,
returns.
I hope so. I would like to see her again. It would have been nice to see her interact with Sydney in Scream 5. They didn't
Yeah,
have a scene together.
I know that was a missed opportunity. It's
Yeah.
almost like they just showed her just to say, "Oh, she's related to Chad and Mindy. Now
Right.
she can go away." But she's more important than that, I think, because of the events of Scream 3. They obviously
Hmm.
had a bond in Scream 3, so it would have been nice
Right.
to see that again. So now with Neve Campbell coming back, then I would say that maybe Martha is a good shout
Yeah.
for a return. Other than that, I don't know who else. Obviously, Mark Kincaid.
Yeah. I really want to see Mark come back. I
Yeah.
want to see them interact as husband and wife.
Hmm.
I mean, it's the first time we'll be seeing him since 3. And I hope it can happen.
Yeah. But it's funny. I don't know if you saw this on Instagram. Neve Campbell obviously announced on Instagram that she's coming back to Scream 7. But 2 days, I think it was about 2 days before it, Patrick Dempsey, who plays Mark Kincaid, said, "Hello, Sydney." And he arrived in Sydney, Australia.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Yes, I
Yeah, but
did see that.
how weird is it he said hello Sydney
Right.
as if that's a line. I know it's spelt differently, but
Uh-huh.
it's such a coincidence. He's like, "Hello, Sydney," and then 2 days
Right.
later, Sydney
Yeah.
returns to. I just feel like he's already coming back, but it's not confirmed
Yes.
yet.
I think it's gonna happen. I mean, he was in Thanksgiving, which
Mhm.
is a Spyglass movie.
Yeah,
I think it's just a matter of time before they announce it. I hope so.
yeah. Well, that's what I'm thinking because you've seen his performance in Thanksgiving, and
Mhm.
he's at a prime time right now to come back into the horror franchise. And
Yes.
what better franchise than Scream to
Mhm.
to make a big return?
Yeah.
But when you look at other actors who are coming back into the horror genre right now, one of them that's quite hot is Matthew Lillard,
Mhm.
as he was in what do you call it, Five Nights at Freddy's, and he's coming back for the second one, I think. Five Nights at
Yes.
Freddy's 2, yeah. So
I
he's
think they're
obviously
filming
hot
it
for
right
it.
now.
There you go. And that film made
Mhm.
over $200 million.
Mhm.
So it would be stupid not to ask him to return as Stu. Now, you being a big Stu fan, me being a big Stu fan, I know that there's people out there that say, don't be stupid. There's no way he can come back. He died, blah, 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 blah. What's your take on it? How would he have survived the TV fall in your eyes?
Well, I have so many theories on this. First of all, I think, it's possible that the cops could have helped cover it up, like Sheriff Burke, could have been friends with the Mocker parents, but I think there's a bunch of ways that he could have survived his injuries.
Mhm.
First of all, he held his hands up before the TV fell on him to like brace himself for impact.
Yep.
So think of it this way, like when you're walking down the street and you trip, you instinctively put your hands out to like protect your face.
Mhm.
So that's one way. I think the TV didn't fall from that great of a height.
Yeah.
He so some people say, oh, he got electrocuted. But so did Jill. She got the defibrillator to her head, and that
Mhm.
is not what killed her. She woke up after that. It wasn't until she got shot in the chest.
Yeah.
So there's a few different ways I think he could have survived. And he only got stabbed 4 times. That's like nothing compared to some of these characters in the newer movies.
Like Chad.
Right?
Yeah.
Which I think that they could be doing that intentionally to make it more believable for Stu.
Yep. I said the exact same thing. Like there was times in the franchise that it felt like it was getting realistic, where if you get stabbed, you're dead. But with Scream
Mhm.
5 and 6, the way they were getting stabbed and literally knives getting pulled up the way and stuff and intentionally
Mhm.
surviving, I'm like, okay, they're telling us then that this is just a movie, because it is, and people are surviving really horrible injuries.
Yes.
So with Stu, and I agree with you, you see Stu doing this when the TV
Mhm.
comes on top. It's a big TV, of course. It's a tube TV, so it's very heavy, a CRT, but it doesn't fall from a great height, like you said.
Right.
And when people say he gets electrocuted, we don't know how much electricity is going inside of him. He could
Mhm.
just be like going, you're hurting me. It could
Right.
be anything like that. And even if it wasn't, they would write that into the retcon anyway.
Mhm.
You mentioned there that we could say that it was covered, the police could cover it up to say that
Mhm.
he died, etc. I would say that as well, because I think what they'll try and spin is they'll make him the pawn, the innocent one, where he was easily influenced by Billy, because he was,
Right.
you know.
Yes.
So Billy was the main bad guy, and Stu was just somebody who's playing along. So they could have just said, right, let's say he died. We'll send him into a maximum security prison for 25 years and let him out after 25 years. And if they let him out in
Yes.
25 years, that'll be 2021. So from
Right.
2021, he's out there. We don't know what he's doing. He could be
Mhm.
killing people in Scream 5 and 6 that we don't know about. And then it could be revealed in Scream 7. Ideally, there are some kills in these movies that I would have liked to have seen Stu be responsible
Mhm.
for. The
Mhm.
Dewey kill, for example.
Yes.
Have you looked at any of these kills in 5 and 6 and think, although this person's taking responsibility for that kill, could it be somebody else?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely Dewey. I think there's a good chance that was Stu. And then in Scream 6, I think he is the one who attacked Gail and killed Brooks,
Mhm.
Gail's boyfriend. I think there's a ton of clues. Like, I don't think that that was Quinn. I'm sorry, but tossing Brooks through the glass like that, I'm sorry, that there's no way that that is Quinn.
Yeah.
That is Stu. And that Ghostface also did Stu's signature move of 2 hands above the head
See, I never
when he
noticed that.
when he was attacking Gale.
Right.
Yes.
There you go.
And you know what else I gotta mention? So the phone call that Gale gets was from a 707 area code, which we know is a Woodsboro area code, which we learn in Scream 5.
Mm.
And if the Bailey family was using Richie's cell phone, which they were, he, lived in Modesto, where the area code is like 209 or something like that.
Right.
And the creators also confirmed that the rest of the Bailey family is from the Midwest. So someone with a Woodsboro area code called Gail. I think that is a big clue that like people just overlook. Why is someone from Woodsboro calling Gail?
See, it's little innuendos like that they can always draw back to for these retcons. I didn't, obviously I'm not from the US, so I wouldn't even clock on to
Right.
something like that. But that's
Yeah.
cool little clues. Obviously,
Yeah.
the obvious ones, like you said, is when he was throwing Brooks through the book cabinet, because Brooks is a big man.
Yes. And they emphasize that he's muscly. Like Ghostface even says something about his muscles.
Yeah.
I feel like that was done intentionally to make us question and like think about this. Like, how could Quinn do that? And Guy Busick, the writer, like one of the writers of 5 and 6, is a huge Stu believer. He has said that he wants to bring Stu back. So I do think he is like responsible for all these little clues that they're dropping.
Yeah. Well, I agree with that. There was another thing in that scene when Gail was on the phone to the Ghostface killer, and he said, "It's just dawned on me that we've never spoken on the phone before," and it's almost like he's talking from experience, like he's spoken to Gail's friends in the past.
Right.
It's just the way he says it. I know he's speaking as Ghostface, so he's probably speaking on behalf of all the Ghostface killers. But there's just something about the phone call that says to me he knows her personally.
Yes.
And she doesn't, and she knows him. And it's good that she survived so that she can find out that it wasn't Amber that killed Dewey, it was Stu. And that would give her a lot of motivation for Scream 7. There's Stu being the killer gives everyone a motivation to come back. When you see Nev Campbell coming back as Sydney, there's only so many times you can bring the character Sydney back to be stalked by new killers for a new reason.
Right.
It will get boring very, very fast. But if you bring back someone from a previous Scream film that has a motive from the very beginning, it doesn't feel forced because we're naturally progressing her character. Would you agree with that?
Yes. Also, Matthew Lillard has said that he would only come back if Nev comes back. So the second they announced that Nev Campbell was coming back, I was like, all right, now's the perfect time. And like you said, like, do we really want to see brand new killers again for a 7th time? Like, let's do something different. Bring back a past killer. Matthew Lillard himself has even said, like, that's what these horror franchises do. They eventually bring back the killer. So why not, do it for Scream 7?
Yeah, totally. And even Randy says it in his rules for this. This will be a trilogy.
Exactly.
5, 6, and 7. It always comes back to bite you, and the past always comes back to bite you.
Exactly.
And obviously, the big clue for Stu to return is Dewey's kill with the way he was killed. He was killed from groin to sternum. Which is how they discussed it in Scream 1. Was that intentional or an accident?
I think it was intentional.
It's got to be.
And I think it's interesting that the two most questionable attacks in the new movies are legacy characters with Dewey and Gale. And, the fact that like Stu said it takes a man to do something like that, like, I don't think Amber could have done that. I don't think Quinn could have done that. I think they're like trying to make us pay attention to these scenes.
Yeah, it's almost like they've left it open for interpretation just in case they want to go back and retcon that. If they don't, then they can just assume that, yes, it was Amber, yes, it was Quinn, and we can move on. But if they want to retcon those 2 kills or those 2 attacks, those would be the easiest ones to explain that it was Stu. It doesn't have to be Stu. It could be somebody else. But ideally, for me, Stu, because he's the one that people want back. I am scared, though, that because so many people want Stu to return, they might go, he would be too obvious. Do you think that could be the case?
I don't think so, because even though I'm expecting it, my mind will still be blown if they do it and they pull this off.
I think so too. I think that's also why at the end of Scream 5, when we find out it's Richie and Amber, I was kind of like, oh, that's cool. But I wanted Stu because it's got Stu's house. So I was
Right.
slightly disappointed. And it's the same with Scream 6. I was building myself up, right? Okay, this is it.
Mhm.
Stu didn't come back in Scream 5, but we've got him for 6.
Yeah.
And then Dermot Mulroney comes in with his
Yeah.
clown act. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
Maybe next time.
I think that's part of the reason why I was so disappointed walking out of Scream 6 because a part of me was expecting Stu, but it
Mhm.
does make sense for them to have it as like the finale of the trilogy in a sense.
Yeah.
Um but so I do think that like Stu's leading a cult of ghost faces. Um so I do think like Amber and Richie were a part of that cult. So that is why I think Amber took credit for Dewey's kill to kind of cover up for Stu because he wasn't ready to like reveal himself yet.
Yeah. And what better place to start that cult than the actual house that Amber moved into,
Right.
Stu's house? And she said she met Richie on was it the chat rooms and stuff?
Yeah, the stab subreddit or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So that could have obviously been created by Stu when he got out of
Yes,
prison.
I
He knew
think
he's
so.
living a different life, or so
Mhm.
people think. So yeah, there's just so many opportunities to bring Stu back that it wouldn't feel that far fetched. People will say, of course, it feels far fetched because there's no way Stu can survive a TV landing on his head. But again, you look at Chad, he's like he gets
Exactly.
stabbed 50 times. Look at Mindy,
Yeah.
she gets stabbed and the knife moves up a little bit and twisted.
Yeah. You know, if Scream 6 was Scream 2 and she had that happen to her on the subway, she would have died, like,
Yeah,
for
definitely.
sure. Yeah.
I actually thought she did die when it happened. I was like,
Yeah.
"Yay!" But it didn't happen. But then when Chad started getting stabbed, I was like, "Oh no, I actually really like Chad." And then
Mhm.
when he survived, I'm like, "Oh no, I wish he just died now," because that was an honorable death. But
Exactly.
they kind of pulled it back, and I'm like, "Oh, he
Yeah.
survived." Then Mindy comes running and she survives. Then Sam and Tara survive, and then Kirby survives as well. I'm like,
Yeah.
Who's dying?"
Everyone survived. Annika was, like, the biggest death of Scream 6.
Yeah, and she was just introduced to us in
Yeah.
Scream 6 as well.
You know, she was a cool character, but, like, I just don't care that much, you
Mhm.
know?
I
Yeah.
think she was my favorite of the new cast for Scream 6.
I really like Danny. I'm a big fan
Oh,
of
yeah, yeah.
Danny.
No, Danny was good. Yeah, they kind of left that opened. But again,
Mhm.
Melissa Barrera would have to come back for Scream 7 for him to have any
Yeah.
sort of impact because he's only related to her in terms of the story. There
Yeah.
would be
It's
no reason because
unfortunate.
yeah, because it's not. I'm assuming it's not going to be set in New York,
Yeah.
so any New York characters are going to be out of this movie unless they're related to Sydney
Yeah,
some way.
unless maybe like maybe Gail's still living in New York, so the first time we see Gail, she's in New York.
Yeah,
Maybe she links up with Danny somehow. I don't know. I mean, if they wanted him to be in the movie, I think they could make it work, but I don't think it's looking good for Danny.
yeah. That's why I also think that Chad and Mindy have still got a good chance to return because they're connected to Woodsboro, they're
Right.
connected to Martha, and
Mhm.
who's then connected to Sydney. So I would still as much as I don't like Mindy. I don't know if you knew that, but I just don't like
Yeah.
Mindy's character. She's like she's too far fetched, like a far
Yeah.
fetched Randy to me. But
Mhm.
if she returned with Chad, I would kind of like it because it still links us to 5 and 6,
Right.
and we keep that continuation for the franchise going. There's no point in alienating everyone from the story.
Yeah.
If they're available, bring them in. How they do that,
Mhm.
I don't know, but I think there's some unfinished business with people who are related to past victims
I
of
agree.
the kill. That's why I kind of like Scream 5 with the motive. Like they're going after people who are related to victims and killers
Mhm.
from the previous film. Do you like Kyle Gallner? You know Kyle.
I do. I feel like his character was very they wasted
Yeah.
him. Like he died way too soon. Could have been a good red herring at least. He could have been a good ghost face. I think he should
Mhm.
have been a ghost. Like he could have been an intimidating ghost face, which I think is something that we need in these
Yeah.
movies. And just the fact that he's Stu Macher's nephew, there is so much they could have done with him. It's such a shame that they killed him off so soon.
That's why I mentioned him, because his character could have been built up to be someone that we suspected right till the very end. He's a
Right.
phenomenal actor as well.
Mm-hmm.
He would be very intimidating
Yes.
as a Ghostface killer, had he been the killer. And you never know, if he didn't die, it could have been him and his uncle that were the
Mm-hmm.
killers in the next Scream film. So there's, again, that was a missed opportunity, especially now because he's been in a lot of really good horror films lately.
Right.
His latest one, I don't know if you've seen it, Strange Darling.
I haven't, but I'm looking forward to it.
He is incredible in that film, and just watching him perform, I say to myself, wow, that's a missed opportunity to have him in the franchise for more than one film, you know.
Totally agree.
Shame. It's the same with Samara Weaving as well. I think
Yeah.
she was my favorite character on Scream 6, I think. Well, yeah, I didn't like Annika the most. It was Laura that I liked the most. Laura was my
Yeah.
favorite.
Yeah.
I'll quickly go back into the chat just to see what's up. We got that one from Mark. Ronaldo says, I have never had time to ever comment, as I work a very busy job, but I do see your content when I have a chance. Thanks very much, Ronaldo. That's nice of you to say. Ethan says, sorry, I'm late. No, you're not late.
Hey, Ethan.
How you doing, Ethan? Pam is great too, but no, I'm not one of her people, Barry. Nothing bad about that. No, that's fine. Again, you watch quietly. I do that as well. Like, I watch a lot of your live streams as well, Pam. I comment now and again. But when I watch live streams, I don't always comment. So I get that. Hello, Barry. Hello, Jean. Nice to see you. David's just said, just subbed over at Pam's channel. Looking forward to jumping into that content. Yeah, definitely, Davey. Davey likes Scream films as well, so he's in the right place for you, Pam.
Nice. Thanks, Davey.
Wrestling God said, hey, Pam and Barry, I have a theory about Stu. He just wanted someone to care about him because he had a rough childhood and his family went through a lot of struggles. He was struggling. I mean, mentally, I would say yes, he was struggling, but financially, I guess not. Like, he was quite a wealthy part of a kind of wealthy family, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But what would you feel about that then? Like, if he did return, he was like just had a rough upbringing. Would that be enough to be understood?
I don't know. Some people think that because it's like his family went on vacation without him, and there's that sign that they, in the background of the final act of the first movie, they wrote like, "Sorry, we missed you today." So people think that his parents weren't like very present in his life.
Yeah.
So that could be like some motive or why he snapped, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the signs weren't there intentionally, I guess. I guess the signs are there in hindsight. So if you look back and go, there's something that we could use as a motive for Stu's behavior. So I get that. I mean, he looked like a very impressionable person. He would do anything that Billy told him to do, even though he was bigger than Billy. Billy just felt very, very menacing. Who's your favorite Ghostface?
Stu, definitely.
Stu, yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's mine as well. Obviously, it's close between him and Billy, but I think Stu is my favorite because he's more charismatic.
Yes.
He's less serious, and
yes,
when you look at Ghostface killers, I also rate them based on who they are before they're revealed as a Ghostface killer, and I think Stu has it all. Stu's a likable bad guy. Sorry to say, I like him. He's so charismatic. He's someone that I would like to hang around with.
Yes.
Unless he's a Ghostface killer. he just looks like someone who'd be a really funny, cool friend. And then when he's revealed as Ghostface, of course, he goes all nuts and stuff. But he does it in a good way. When you look at, say, Dermot Mulroney's character, Wayne, he does it in a really goofy way. Whereas Stu's so natural of being that crazy person because he showed traits of it before.
Yes.
You know? So, yeah, I totally agree. Stu is definitely my favorite, which is another reason why he should come back.
Yes.
Let's see. Justin says, for me, just Scream 2 was just awful. Watching back to with the original, and it was just, it's the first movie, but what if it was worse? Sorry, Justin, I don't know what you mean. Sorry. I kind of think I know what you mean. Wait, this is probably why I didn't like Scream 2 to begin with. It was at the bottom of my list because when you bring out a sequel to one of the greatest horror films of all time, you're
Mhm.
obviously going to judge it based on that. And I think
Yeah.
that's why I didn't love Scream 2 to begin with, because it's nowhere near as good as Scream. But over time, I think time's been kind to Scream 2, and that's
Yeah.
why it's bumping up my list.
Mhm.
It's your third best, you say?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
How far away is it though from part 4?
I mean, it's hard to beat Scream 4 as like my favorite sequel. I think Scream 4 will always be my favorite sequel, unless of course Stu comes back in 7. Maybe 7 will bump up to number 2, but
Or 1? You never know. Might bump right up the
yeah,
top. You never
maybe.
know. You know, it's funny because here in the UK, we've got the rating system's different. We've got like 12A, 15, and an 18 rated movies. You guys have got like PG-13, rated
Yeah.
R and stuff. Scream 4 was the only film in the cinema up until that point that was rated 15. The rest of them were rated
Oh,
18. But the funny
wow.
thing is, when you watch Scream 4, it's probably the most brutal Scream.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would still say it's possibly still the most brutal one, especially the uncut
Mhm.
version. Um,
Mhm.
but it passed with a 15 rating in the UK, so happy
Interesting.
days. Um, when you watch the Scream films, again, you're obviously a little bit younger. Do you? The first thing I done when I watched a Scream film when I was younger, I would go to my local HMV um, video store or music store, and I would buy the soundtrack on CD, like the Scream soundtrack on CD.
Mhm.
So I know every song, even though I had no idea who the artists were, I got to know
Mhm.
all these artists through
Yeah.
the Scream franchises. Do you listen to that kind of music from the Scream franchise?
I just have the first one, the first
Right.
soundtrack. I don't have the soundtracks to the rest of them, but I do like Scream 4's soundtrack. Like that opening song.
Yep.
Um,
From the
I don't
sounds.
yeah, yeah. I can't even remember what it's
Someone to,
called.
it's called Someone to Die For.
It's so
It's
good. I love it.
it's a Swedish band called The Sounds.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
Again, I had no idea who they were, so I had listened to their stuff, and I'm like, that's pretty good. Um,
Yeah.
my favorite soundtrack from Scream though is Scream 2. I think that's the most,
Really? That's a
yeah,
good one.
yeah.
But I love the closing song for the first movie. The Moby song,
Oh, when
First
is that?
Cool Hive, when like Gail's giving her little report and
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
it's such a nostalgic song. It's so
yeah.
good.
I like that song as well, but I also like the song after that when it cuts to the thing and
Yeah.
it's Whisper to a Scream. I think
Yes.
that's, yeah.
That one's good too.
So yeah, there's lots of great memorable moments that have some
Mhm.
really good songs. Obviously, Randy's death as well. That was the Cottonmouth Crew, Suburban
Mhm.
Life, which I had no idea who they were, but because of Randy's death, I'm like, I love that song now because it always reminds me of Randy when he took his
Mhm.
last breath.
Ugh,
So sad.
R.I.P.
You know, it's funny. At the time, I said to myself, I'm never going to forgive Wes Craven for what he done to Randy. But the
Mhm.
fact that he'd done that to Randy all those years ago and we still love Randy today means it was the best
Yeah.
thing to do. It was the right decision.
Yeah. I have a love-hate relationship with that moment. Like
Mhm.
it kills me. Like I wish that he would have made it at least to the final act.
Yeah.
Also would have loved him to make it to Scream 3 alive, but that's what makes these movies so epic that they weren't afraid to like kill off big characters.
Yeah. And you get attached to these characters as well. And it's the same with
Mhm.
Dewey. If it turns out Amber was responsible for Dewey's death, it's something I won't ever forgive them for. But if it turns out that it was Stu that done it to him and we go back in time to see it,
Yeah.
then I would be like, okay, that was worthwhile. Now,
Yes.
I want to touch on this next topic because it was something I was going to talk about. Courtney Cox said that she's not returning yet, but it's looking like it's a closed case. But she
Mhm.
says she would like to see Dewey return as well. And people were twisting what she means by that. I think it just means we'll see a flashback of
Yes.
Dewey, or we could see
Mhm.
a what if moment. Like I had an idea where
Yes.
she would have a dream. What if I didn't? What if I didn't let Dewey go there? We would be living
Mhm.
happily ever after, and then you'd see a little dream sequence of them, something like that. But as we're talking about the Amber kill, I'm thinking maybe Dewey can come back, or David Arquette reenact that scene again, but show this time Stu pulling the mask off.
Yes.
That way we get to see Dewey again, and that way we see the
Yes.
reintroduction to Stu Macher.
Yes.
Let's
That
lock
is
that in.
exactly what I want to see.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Courtney Cox will get her wish, and so will we. There you
Mhm.
go. Dewey returns, and so
Yeah.
does Stu.
I've been saying like we need a Dewey flashback. It would be a perfect way for the fans to see him again,
Mhm.
without bringing him back from the dead. I think that would be too ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I really thought we were going to get a flashback in Scream 6 to them in New York because they lived in New York together. And the fact that Scream 6 took place in New York, I thought we were going to, like find out what happened between them when
Yeah.
he left her in the middle of the night. Like we learned that in Scream 5, he just up and left, which I think
Mm.
is a little weird. Like what happened between them?
Yeah,
Why
I never thought of that. I forgot all about that. Yeah.
he just left her? Like why didn't he face her and say, "Listen, it's not working out. I need to go back to Woodsboro." I thought that was really weird. I don't know.
Mhm. Maybe that could be a flashback that they do instead. Then,
Mhm.
if Stu doesn't return, maybe they can do something like that. Mm. There was rumors that Drew Barrymore was going to return as well, and
Yeah.
again, the only way you could fit that in is if we go back to the very beginning, where she gets killed with Steve, and we see there's maybe a third killer with Billy and Stu,
Mhm.
and that could
Mhm.
be is it Christina?
Yes.
Sam and Tara's mum. If Sam and
Yes.
Tara were going to continue on, now that they're out of the picture, I don't see the point in that. But
Yeah, I think it's definitely less likely that Christina would come into it without the sisters, but I do think it's still possible because, first of all, she has a connection to Sydney. They went to
mhm,
high school together. They both dated Billy. And I have a theory that like Christina has been helping Stu this whole time kind of stay in hiding. So
yeah.
I do think there are ways that they could still include her even without her daughters being in the movie.
Mhm. Well, yeah, I agree because I feel like if Stu returns, we need someone there that has helped Stu along the way, whether it be
Mhm.
in a criminal sense or someone just to try and rehabilitate him as well. So it could be someone that he knows, it could be his sister or whatever, family
Mhm.
member. Someone could be there to help Stu, and maybe Stu has let them in on the secret that he's out killing people, or maybe he's like, I'm trying to keep this a secret from everyone, even us, the audience. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, there's so many people and so many angles you can bring into this.
Yeah.
If Stu gets a chance to return, um, the next thing I wanted to, well, we've spoken about this a little bit about Mark. If we obviously know Sydney's the main character, how do you think, or how do you hope that they work this around, whether it's Stu or not? How do you want to see Sydney's character play out? Are we going to see the kids? Are we going to see Mark? Are the kids going to be involved?
I would like to see her kids involved. I want to see her play this role of a mother, especially because she kind of has this trauma with her own mother. Didn't really know who
Yeah.
she was as a person. She learned all these things about her mother after the fact. So I think it would be kind of cool to see that play into it, like how Sydney is a mom now and how she's dealing with everything. I don't know. I definitely want to see Mark Kincaid in the story for sure. I want to see them as a family unit.
hmm Yeah, that's interesting. And again, it's something I've never thought of. Seeing how she reacts as a mother compared
Yeah.
to how her own mother reacted. Obviously, from what we remember or what we are told, is her mother slept around. She was with Cotton. She was with Billy's dad and stuff like that. So she obviously
Mhm.
isn't a role model for
Right.
Sydney. And I think Sydney would like to right the wrongs
Mhm.
that she saw growing up as a kid. So that would be important to have those kids in the film. Um, I don't know if you know off the top of your head what age were her kids supposed to be again? Do you know?
I don't know. I mean, in Scream 5, we see one of them is in the stroller.
Yeah.
So I assume she has one that's older than that because she says I have to take the girls to school.
Mhm.
And I'm assuming that she did not have kids in Scream 4 because there was no mention of kids or a husband. Like Rebecca Walters says in Scream 4, like Sydney needs to get laid or something like that. So
Yeah.
I'm assuming she didn't have a husband at the time. So I think her kids were born after 2011.
Mhm.
So what's the oldest that they could be?
The safe, the oldest they could potentially be is in, let's say they're born in 2012. If she met him straight
Mhm.
after the events of 2011, got together, had a baby in 2012, say 13 just to be safe, you'd
Yeah.
be looking at like a 13-year-old child in Scream 7, which it doesn't seem old enough to be chased around by a Ghostface killer, but it would be interesting to see Ghostface going after a kid because it's
Yeah.
Sydney's kid. But again, the question is why? Why go after Sydney and her child? They have to be connected to her story.
Exactly.
Someone, yeah, someone that she knows. See if it's someone else, a new character called John Smith, who's only after her because he saw a picture of her online and thought, I want a bit of fame.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll do that though, because again, Kevin Williamson is returning. He's not writing. And I know people say this all the time. With Kevin Williamson returning, I'm excited because he will have some say over the writing, even though he's not writing the
Yeah.
film. How are you feeling about Kevin Williamson coming back?
I'm excited. I think honestly at this point he's like the best person for the job.
Mm.
This is his story. He created it in the first place. So I think it's just fitting that it's going to be him.
Yeah, I agree. At the time, though, I didn't even think of Kevin Williamson when Christopher Landon pulled out. I was like,
Yeah.
well, who could be next? Like, I couldn't even
Right.
think of someone. And then when Kevin Williamson was announced, I'm like, why didn't I think of that? He only
Yeah.
directed a film before. Have you seen his
Mhm.
first film, Teaching
I
Mrs.
have
Dingle?
not. No.
It's good. It's not like mind blowing. There's no twists or
Mhm.
anything. It's just a straight up story. Quite funny, quite humorous, and it's good. But it's 25 years ago, so he's
Yeah.
obviously grown since then. And he's a great writer. I just feel like he'll take that script with is it Guy Busick that's writing it or Gary Busick?
Yeah. Guy Busick.
Guy Busick. So he'll give him the script and he'll be like, right, okay, let me look at this. And I
Yeah.
think he will do good with the script that he gets.
I agree.
So I think we're in safe hands when it comes to Kevin Williamson and then obviously Sydney being the main star.
Mhm.
Just going to go back to the chat. Davey said, Patrick Dempsey, not just the sexiest man alive, but also having his horror renaissance. Yeah, we mentioned that as well, Davey,
Yes.
with Thanksgiving and a potential Thanksgiving 2 for him as well. What's your favourite Ghostface and least favourite? My favourite is Mickey and least favourite is Charlie. Well, our favourite is obviously Stu. Who's your least favourite?
Ethan.
Ethan?
Yeah.
Um, I can't think. I would say it's between Ethan and Wayne, I would say. I actually didn't
Yeah.
mind Quinn. I think,
Yeah, Quinn was pretty good. She was okay.
yeah, she felt like the most realistic
Yeah.
goody to baddie out of
Mhm.
the three of them. If it turned out it was just Quinn and Ethan, I'd maybe like that a little bit more. But yeah, Ethan and I would say Wayne is my least favorite. But
Yeah.
again, it can change
Right.
sometimes. Ronaldo says Mark was also traumatized from the events of Scream 3, and that would definitely be cool to see the interaction and how he reacts to the recent events. I don't think he would be that traumatized. He's a police officer at the end of the day. He's probably dealt with worse than the Ghostface killers, but never say never. He might be traumatized by it. You never know. Um, oh, look who's in the chat. It's Amber Freeman. Macher. Hey Barry and Pam, how's it going? I love all the Scream movies as well. My Scream 4 is one of my favorites, and my favorite Ghostface is Stu Macher. Good choices.
Nice.
Good choices. Um, Power Packer. Stu isn't coming back. It's too obvious now. I was just waiting for someone to say it. I agree. It is too obvious, but like Pam said, I feel like even though I think he's coming back, if we see him on
Yeah.
screen, you're going to get chills.
Yeah, it's still like, will they or won't they? We don't know, and that's what makes it exciting for me.
Yeah, same with me. And again, if I see him, I will freak out and say, I knew it, but I will
Yeah,
still love it. I was like, I'll still be so surprised and happy as well.
same.
If it doesn't happen, I won't cry. I won't be upset. I get told this all the
Yeah.
time. People come up to me and say, "How does it feel to be wrong
Right.
about Stu not being in Scream 6? You must feel like an idiot." I'm like, no.
No.
I mean, I
I'll be
wanted them to return.
disappointed, but, like, I'm
Mhm.
not gonna cry over it.
Yeah, life goes on.
Right.
So it'll be the same for Scream 7. I will pray he's in Scream 7, and if he's not, I will say, okay, there's always Scream 8.
Right.
Until the Scream films stop, I will still believe that
Exactly.
Stu, he can return. Sloppenheimer said Kincaid should be revealed as a secret Ghostface. Just write it off as Gail finds out some weird information and looks into it slowly, uncovering Kincaid's past. How would you feel about that? Having a past character who was a victim being
Yeah.
the killer?
I'm a fan of that theory in general. Someone who I have said, like, could be that is Kirby. Um, but for Kincaid, I have a theory on my channel about that. Like, Roman Bridger is the only solo Ghostface, but he was originally supposed to have a partner, and it was going to be Angelina. And some
Yeah.
people do still think that she was secretly his partner, and he just like killed her before the reveal. But I've always said, like, what if it was Kincaid? What if Kincaid was his partner and he started to develop feelings for Sydney, so he kind of like gave up on the plan?
Mhm.
I don't know. I mean, it would be a crazy twist. And obviously, like, the whole boyfriend thing has been done before,
Yeah.
but it would kind of be a bigger betrayal because she started a life with this guy. She married him, had kids with him. So it would be a crazy twist, but do they have the balls to pull it off? I don't know.
Mhm. Well, what do you think of this one? Roman pretended to be dead in Scream 3, and that
Mhm.
was at the the freezer,
Yeah.
and he was alive. He was just pretending he was dead. What are the chances of him pretending that he's killed Angelina and then pulled her off? And she's like, right, cool, I'll kill her, I'm dead. And she's still alive, not expecting Roman to die. So that she saw him die and she's like, oh, I better get out of here and get lost. I know that
Interesting.
I know they would probably say, well, where's her body then? But maybe they didn't report her dead. Maybe they didn't. I don't know. It's a film,
Yeah.
so they can always leave things out. But they could pretend that she died, just like he pretended he died as well. So
Right.
she could be a killer on the loose. You never know.
She could be. She's not one of my favorites though, so I honestly don't really care to see her
Nah.
again.
Well, she was annoying, but I think there was a
Yeah,
lot
very.
cut out from the script that she was supposed to be the killer. Obviously, her being
Mhm,
in the toilets and stuff with the mask and the
mhm.
phone, and there's just so much they had to change. Was it's quite a shame.
Yeah.
Um, Horror Paradise said the fact that it even electrocuted him wasn't even realistic for those televisions. It was supposed to be a slapstick death. If anything, CRT televisions have literally fell on children and adults before. Yeah, the amount of times I've been hit with a CRT television, not as big as his, but I've been hit by them and they're sore, a little bit painful. And I was a kid at the time. He's like almost a fully grown man. Um, so it's possible that he survived
Mhm.
that. A lot more plausible for him to survive that than any of the survivals that we saw in 5 and 6, I would say.
Yes, definitely.
Um, Amber Freeman said, "Hey Barry and Pam, how's it going? I love all the Scream movies." And oh, did I read that one out?
I
Yes,
think
I did.
so.
Sorry, I think went back up a bit. Meanwhile, Billy got that headshot. Very serious death. Yeah, that's something you're not coming back from. You mentioned that quite a lot, don't you? About the headshots. That's like the confirmed kill. Once you get the headshot, then Yeah.
Yeah, especially, this franchise emphasizes that, like that they can always come back unless they were shot in the head.
Mhm.
Sam even says that in Scream 6. So, that's just another little hint that like Stu could have survived. He wasn't shot in the head.
Yeah, and Randy writes the rules as well as it goes along when he said at the end, like, this is the
Mhm.
moment where this was it the supposed killer comes back to life for one last scream or
Mhm.
scare. So yeah,
Mhm.
he kind of subliminally writes the rules for us as the audience. That's why we love Randy, because he speaks on behalf of us throughout the first two Scream films. And I think that's why we all kind of latched onto him.
Yep.
Amber said, "Hey, plus Billy was stabbed with the umbrella." Oh, that was. I'll talk about that in a second. Billy was stabbed with the umbrella by Sydney and shot by Gail, and then got back up and then came back to life after Randy said that they always come back. And then Sydney shot him in the head. Yeah, so there's so many things that happened to Billy's character before he get killed that some of those wounds he would be out, cold. Do you know that? See the umbrella scene when he gets stabbed in the chest? He actually got stabbed in the chest. Skeet Ulrich gets stabbed, and that's
Yeah, I heard something about that. Or like as a kid he had a heart condition, so he has something like in his chest. So it caused an issue for him when he kind of got stabbed there.
you
Did you
see
hear
it
that?
if you watch the scene again, you see it actually like looks like it pierces him, and you see
Really?
his face is literally like as
Oh
in,
my
oh, you really
god.
got me. They must have cut that scene straight after it, but they kept
Yeah.
that in. That's part of the trivia for the film, where you actually get really hurt by that umbrella because it wasn't supposed to go in the way that it did.
Damn.
So he actually got injured there. He spoke about that. He came to Manchester in the UK for the Love of Horror in 2021, and Skeet Ulrich and Matthew Lillard were talking to the crowd, and people were asking them questions. And that's one of the things that he mentioned about the umbrella as well. And I'm like, oh, I knew about that already because he spoke about it before. Some cool trivia. Sorry guys, I'm way behind in this chat. I'm really, really sorry. I'll come back to it again though. Yeah, well, I'll click on this one first. So Dream Villain said, here's a theory. Gail is the mastermind behind the thing, which is why she never gets a fatal kill shot. She's also a story writer, and this would do well for her ratings. I like that, but this would do well for her ratings. That's it. I don't think that's going to happen, but I think if
Yeah.
anyone's got a motive, it would be to get book sales. What would you think of that?
Yeah.
Do you think it's possible?
I think if they were gonna do that, it would have happened already. I feel like it's a little too late in the franchise, especially because in Scream 2, when Dewey and Randy are talking about the rules, they're kind of talking about Gail and how she's an opportunist and reporters like write the news or something like that. I think it would be a good twist, but I just feel like it's a little too late in the franchise.
Yeah, I think so too. I think to make Gale or Dewey when he was still alive the killers or killer, I think we love them too much to understand that they're not the antagonists, they're the
Mhm,
protagonists. They're the
mhm.
ones that we always get behind. So I think it would be silly. Never say never, of course, but I think it would be a little bit silly if it turns out that Sydney or Gale were the killers, or even
Right.
Mark to an extent, because
Mhm,
he's obviously got a family with Sydney and stuff. Um,
mhm.
but again, never say never with these films because anything can happen.
Yeah.
Um, Eli's in the chat. What's up, Barry in chat? Welcome, Eli. Dude said, Stu as the mastermind and a new group of killers who are envious of Sydney's family. Sid's daughter is dating the son of one of the new killers, which annoys them. One of them was born 30 years ago. Well, if they were born 30 years ago, they'd be dating a really young girl. Let me see. Unless they meant something else there. So I like the idea of Stu being a mastermind, a new group of killers who are envious of Sydney's family. I think that would work if Stu is involved. But like we mentioned, Pam, we've seen that time and time again. So
Right.
unless there's someone who's connected to Sydney, it's in
Mhm.
some capacity, that wouldn't work for me because it would feel like rinse and repeat, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Thomas Baker says Stu better be in Scream 7. Yeah, I like what you're saying, Thomas. M. Buzzka said, I always say, like Billy is based on Norman Bates, Stu is rooted in Halloween, and Michael Myers comes back. Through his legacy is something I want more. His role and legacy since 1995 expanded. Well, Halloween was Randy's film. He brought Halloween over.
You know what though? That just made me think of something. Amber says in the final act, that's the problem with the stab movies. No bad guy to keep coming back. No Michael
Mhm.
Myers or Jason Voorhees. So I think, Stu could be that for the Scream franchise.
Yeah, I
She
think that
she
would work.
literally said, like, that's the problem with the stab movies. No bad guy to keep coming back. So
Yeah,
here comes Stu.
that's a great point. See, all these kind of points would be good to be reinforced when if we see
Mhm.
Stu again. Like, give us those reasons and the clues that they were giving us all this time back and show us that that's going to happen. But yeah, totally agree with that. And it would refresh and revitalize the Scream franchise, showing us that
Yes.
they're doing something different for a change and not just giving us the same formula over and over.
Right. And then, like, the people who don't want Stu to come back, I just think, let's do something different for Scream 7. And then when it comes to Scream 8, we'll go back to the same old stuff. Like, then in Scream 8, you could do the new killers again. Like, let's
Yeah.
just, make the Stu fans happy for one movie and then we'll move on.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, give us if this is Sydney's last film, then give
Right.
us a killer that matches the character that
Yes.
we're invested in. So if you give us Sydney
Mhm.
versus Stu, whether they both die or one of them die, make that the end of that story. But
Yes.
don't make it the end of the Scream franchise. Just make it the end of her story. She survives because they've done it
Mhm.
in Scream 3 and they brought her back for Scream 4 and then they
Right.
brought her back for Scream 5 and it just didn't really work and it wasn't a good end for
Mhm.
Sydney's character. If we wanted an end to Sydney's character, it should have been Scream 3. But because they brought her back, I feel
Right.
like they need to re-end it again on a better note
I
than
agree. Mhm.
Scream 6 and saying, "Oh, I
Yeah.
spoke to Sydney, her and Mark are fine." That's no way to finish a character like Sydney Prescott.
I agree. And then the fact that Matthew Lillard literally said, like, I will only come back if Nev comes back. I think now's the time to do it just because we don't know if Nev Campbell's going to return in the future. Like,
Yeah,
these things change all the time. So the fact that we have her confirmed for Scream 7, I think now is the time because we don't
yeah,
know if she's going to be in 8 or 9 or whatever going
yeah.
forward.
It could be a one and done, last opportunity to go out with a bang.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely. Um, so the next thing I want to talk about, have you heard the rumors of the spin-off TV show with Kirby?
I have, yes.
What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that could work?
Uh, I mean, I think it could. I think it has potential. I love Kirby. So it would be cool to see them kind of expand on her character. Um, but my thing with Kirby is I do think so, like I mentioned earlier, I think Stu is leading a cult of ghost faces. And with Kirby, I do think that she might know about Stu and the cult, and she's secretly like hunting them down currently. I
Mhm.
think there's a couple clues towards that in Scream 6. So I just don't know how that will play into the spin-off, which I do think is actually a movie rather than a show,
Right.
because the recent rumors said feature film or something like that.
Mhm.
Um, and especially with this Scream 7 release date of 2026, when is the spin-off going to come out? Is it going to come out before Scream 7 or after? Is Kirby going to be in Scream 7 or what? I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, I think whether it's a TV show or a movie, I don't know if they bring out in the cinemas or if it's going to be like a Paramount Plus thing.
Right, yeah.
Um, have you seen the Scream TV show?
I have,
Yeah.
yes.
I think then that if you're going to give us a Kirby Reed spin-off, that's a great opportunity to reintroduce some of these characters from the Scream TV show, like Noah,
Yeah.
or I don't think Emma would return because she's too big now. Uh, I can't remember all the characters' names, but Noah for definite would be a really cool character
Mhm.
to see Kirby Reed spin-off that
Yeah.
both of them live in the same universe.
Right. Well, I wonder if they take place in the same universe because Scream TV show season 3 takes place in Atlanta,
Right.
and Kirby was from Atlanta. She came up
Oh,
from Atlanta to New York. So and she said like she was investigating Jason and Greg's online activity,
mhm.
and she takes a special interest in Ghostface attacks. So could she have been looking into like the Scream TV show season 3? I don't know.
That's
And
pretty exciting. I never thought of that.
and Radio Silence kind of confirmed that it does take place in the same universe because there was a Brandon James mask on the subway in
Yeah, I
Scream
heard that.
6.
I never saw it, but I heard that. Yeah, they mentioned that.
Yeah. It's like
Mhm,
they flash it for like 1 second. So
mhm.
they could tie it all together somehow.
But the good thing is the events of Brandon James doesn't take place in Woodsboro. It's in Lakewood,
Right.
with the Lakewood slasher. So they would never coincide or meet each other for any specific reason.
Mhm.
But obviously they're linked in the way that the killings happen in
Mhm.
Lakewood and in Woodsboro. So I felt like I never saw season 3, so I never saw the
Oh.
Atlanta one. I only saw season 1 and 2 with Emma and Noah in Lakewood,
Mhm.
the Brandon James story, and I thought that was excellent. Really, really good
Yeah.
story for those 2 seasons, and I got really attached to those characters because
Yeah.
I felt like with a TV show, it fleshed the characters out more than it does a film. So seeing some of those characters return would be good. I wanted them to return in a Scream film, but if that's not going to happen, the next best thing would be to introduce them to a Kirby show or the
Yeah.
movie kind of thing.
That would be cool.
It's just would it just be about Kirby going about investigating Ghostface? Do you think it'd be like this kind of detective story going on?
I really don't know. Like what how many Ghostface attacks are happening?
Yeah.
You
And is it
know?
all because of that one event in Scream 1 that people are starting to
Right.
copy?
And like I said, I do think Kirby is hunting down the cult of ghost faces for the movie franchise. So would that play into the show? I don't know. Like if Kirby was hunting down the cult, that would make sense to have these multiple attacks taking place like nationwide.
Yeah.
But if the spin-off is something different, I don't know how many Ghostface attacks there can be.
No. But it also plays on the fact that if there is this Kirby show or film, if she's investigating more than one event of other Ghostface killers, it
Mhm.
only strongly emphasizes your idea of the Ghostface cult, that it's not just happening in one area. It could be numerous Ghostface events happening
Mhm.
around, and the mastermind could still be Stu. So he could be responsible
Right.
for not just the Woodsboro ones, not just the ones going after Sydney, but other places around. And that's up to Kirby to then try and investigate them, which could be that show, miniseries, or however it is they would do it. But
Mhm.
there's strong arguments for this show because you see yourself, you see all these rumors every day about something that's never going to happen. But I did see a few accounts saying the Kirby Reed rumors are strong. There's a good possibility that it's going to
Yeah.
happen.
Apparently it's on Production Weekly, which is a reliable source, so
Right.
I don't know.
Have you? Um, I've seen there's a couple more that I'll go through, but have you seen any other rumors lately that you think that sounds like a good idea? Have you seen any or any ridiculous ones?
Um, not really, just rumors that like this is the start of a new trilogy potentially with like Sydney's daughters being the main characters moving forward,
Hmm.
which I think isn't that far-fetched, like that could happen.
Yeah,
Um, I've heard a rumor that like her daughter might be named Tatum, which
yeah, I
I
heard
think
that.
I think would be cool, but I don't know. It's hard for me to kind of care about these rumors because I feel like people just start these rumors online.
Mhm.
So I don't really get excited until we get some kind of official announcement.
It's the same with me. Like you see rumors all the time. Now, I did see one earlier. Um, I don't know if this is an educated guess, but someone said that most of the cast will be announced by the end of December, at the start of January.
Yes, I
Um,
did see that.
and that was from a reliable source called Viewer Annan. I don't know if you've heard of Viewer Annan.
I
Um,
have.
so it came from them. So potentially we could see more cast. I did see a couple of casting things last week or so about actresses that are going to be in Scream 7. I don't know who
Mhm.
they are in real life, so I don't know if they're
Same.
any. Yeah, so
Yeah.
no. I did see someone though that says, "Why are we casting all these unknown people? I want to get big stars." And I'm like, "Well, would you want Robert Downey Jr. and Keanu Reeves? We need people that we don't know so that we don't kind of visualize them in something else, you know?"
Yeah, that's a good point.
hmm is there anybody that you would like to see? Like, is there any actors or actresses that you have your eye on that you think would be good in a Scream film?
I don't know. I mean, I am a big fan of Mia Goth. I think she is one
Mhm.
of the best actresses we have out there nowadays, especially for horror. So it would be cool to see her in a movie, but I don't know. I am open to like people that we don't know. So
Yeah.
I don't really have anyone in mind.
After seeing Strange Darling, I strongly suggest that Kevin Williamson watch Strange Darling and the girl who played Emma Duval in
Mhm.
Scream TV show.
Yeah.
She's the main star in
Mhm.
Strange Darling, and I kid you not, she gave the performance of 2024. She was
Really?
unbelievable in this film all
Wow.
the way through the movie. When I was watching it, I'm like, that's a missed opportunity that if she leaves the Scream franchise and
Yeah.
with that ability, that's a major shame for Scream. I hope if Kevin Williamson watches Strange Darling, he goes, she needs to return in some capacity.
Yeah, she just talked about it recently at some kind of convention. She was asked about it and she said that she's open to a return to the
Mhm.
franchise. Like nothing's in the works or anything like that, but she has always hoped that there could be a conclusion.
Yeah. I just hope that with her being in Strange Darling with Kyle Gallner,
Right.
maybe he says something to her like, "Oh, my
Mhm.
friends at Spyglass want to talk to you about Scream 7. Maybe go
Yeah.
and speak to them." You know, there's a connection there. You know, the connection is he was in Scream and so was she,
Right. Yeah,
and
yeah.
they're both in Strange Darling together. Great film. You
Mhm.
actually need to see it. But she
I'm
is
excited.
you should. It's great. It's got a few good twists in it as well that I won't mention, but she is phenomenal. When you watch it, you'll understand why I'm saying it. She is utterly phenomenal. And I don't say that a lot about people, but
Mhm.
she just blew me away. I think it's also because in Scream, the TV show, she was quite bland intentionally because
Mhm.
everyone around her was so charismatic, like Brooke and
Mhm.
I can't remember the girl's name, Noah's best friend. Um, but they were all charismatic, and she was the kind of level-headed one. So when I
Mhm.
was watching Strange Darling, I expected to see the same performance, but she was unrecognizable. Fantastic.
Yeah, I heard nothing but good things about that movie, so
Yeah, definitely check it out. Um, just go back to the chat. Davey said the car scene in Scream 2 is worth the price of admission alone. And damn, Nev looks so good. Yeah. Yeah, her hair was quite nice in that one. But yeah, I like that scene when they smash into the railing and she's climbing over
Yeah,
Ghostface and it's
that's
just kinda
one of the most suspenseful scenes of the franchise.
yeah. I knew Hallie was gonna die there. How she died, I don't know, but I just knew
Yeah.
that she was definitely going to die there. I always watch that scene though. I don't know if you do the same, but and I'm like, just take the mask off. Just take the mask off.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
Yeah. She was obviously scared in case she woke Mickey up.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was a good scene. Um, right. Some of the guys are just talking to each other, which is cool. Leah said, "What do you think Christina Carpenter or Leslie Macker role will be if they're going to be in Scream 7?" Um, I haven't heard much about Leslie Macker being in Scream 7. Have you? Is
Um,
is that a thing?
well, there were like apparently some Scream 7 script leaks like months ago, literally almost a year ago at this point, and I don't know how true they were. Apparently, there were Scream 7 script leaks where Christina and Leslie were in the story,
Right.
and people were saying that they were going to be the ghost faces, but I don't know if they were actually Ghostface in the script or if they just were in the script in general and people kind of ran with it that they were going to
Yeah.
be ghost faces. I don't know, but honestly, that would be like my dream scenario, Christina and Leslie working with Stu.
hmm
But no, I really haven't heard much about it. So
I haven't heard much about the Leslie role, but I did hear to the point where they were about to start casting for Christina Carpenter. There
yeah.
was a few names in the works, like Sofia Vergara.
hmm
I know that Salma Hayek was apparently touted for it as well.
Yeah. When it comes to stuff like that, I feel like that's just fan casting. I feel like
Yeah,
that's all just fans saying who they think should be casted. Same with Leslie Macher. People wanted Judy Greer because there were rumors that someone from the recent Halloween trilogy was going
that's
to be
right.
casted. So
Yeah,
people
that's right.
were just assuming that Judy Greer was going to be Leslie Macher.
hmm Yeah, and again, because she was fresh off Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills, then it only makes sense for the fan casting to then pull some of those characters or actors
hmm
over to another franchise. It does annoy me when you see the usual suspects being
hmm
called, but that's what happens. Um, Dude says Moby song is excellent. I agree with Barry though. Scream 2 soundtrack is the best. Yeah, definitely the best. And I apologize, guys. I'm way behind here. That people are talking about the soundtrack, and we spoke about that like 40 minutes ago. Talk amongst yourselves as well, guys. Again, it's because we're having this great chat about Scream. Um, so that was the announcement from viewer Annan that I was talking about with the casting. There we go. We've got one from Wrestling God says, "Hey Pam and Barry, what if Stu's motive what was that he became a killer because a lack of empathy and a lack of conscience, and he was left behind without anybody give him a chance to tell how he really feels?" So that's kind of playing on the whole thing that we were discussing before about his upbringing. Like, was
hmm
he, I wouldn't say abused as a kid or anything, but what did he not have a good upbringing? It seems like people are starting to think about
Yeah.
motives for Stu's. I feel like his motive is he was just doing what Billy told him to do, but there could be something
Mhm.
deeper there when you think about
Yeah,
it.
like maybe his parents just kind of neglected him.
hmm
Um, but as far as his motive for Scream 7, I think it would just be revenge on Sydney for like, taking him out in the first movie.
Yeah, yeah, I would say so. Eli, oh, here we go. Eli said, "Do you think Art the Clown has surpassed Ghostface in popularity?" Absolutely not. No. People will hate me for this, but Michael Myers isn't even as popular as Ghostface. And you'll be like, "Oh, of course he is, blah, blah, blah." No, he's not. When you
Yeah.
look at the box office for Scream, Scream earns an average of $150 million per movie. And that's only because of the low box office for Scream 4. It would have been higher. But it takes in over 150 million a movie, whereas Halloween takes in an average of 66 million a movie. And that includes with the big box office they had for the last three movies. So believe it or not, Ghostface is way out in front of Halloween. Never mind Art the Clown. Art the Clown is cool, but he's independent. Have you seen the Terrifier movies? The other two?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, they're schlock, fun horror
Mhm.
films, but they're, well, this is me speaking. In my opinion, they don't they don't even take up the same room. What
Yeah.
do you think? Any are they close?
I mean, I definitely am a fan of the Terrifier movies. I
Mhm.
honestly didn't expect to like them as much as I do.
Same, yeah.
Um, but when it comes to like the storyline and character development, it doesn't compare to Scream. Like
Mhm.
Scream, there's just so much of a story there that you really like love all of these characters. They're in different categories, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. No, Terrifier 1 had no story whatsoever.
Right.
Terrifier 2, though, had a story because we
Yeah.
got new characters in Sienna and Jonathan,
Mhm.
and they had a backstory as well. So they were three-dimensional characters. We finally got characters in the Terrifier franchise that we wanted to survive. So I
Right.
think they started off really strong in Terrifier 2, and hopefully that carries over to Terrifier
Mhm.
3. Now, because I think Ghostface is way out in front, doesn't mean I don't like Terrifier. It just means that I think
Yeah.
that it's too early for Terrifier. But nothing's beating Ghostface at the moment, not even Saw, the Conjuring franchise. If the Conjuring franchise continued the strength that they had at the beginning, yes, they would. But I just feel like Ghostface is just too far out in front, ahead of everyone,
Mhm.
unfortunately for some, and I'm saying that as a Halloween fan. Halloween's my favorite horror film, but
Mhm.
Ghostface is too far in front for everyone. That's my opinion. I hope you agree.
As he should be.
Yeah. um, Marvel Dynasty said, I guess the motive for Stu will be to extend his cult into the world, not just America. But if the daughter of Sydney becomes the Ghostface, I guess she will kill her family and Stu will kill Sydney. I would say that's way too far out, too far out in front thinking. I don't think it's going to extend out with America, surely.
Yeah. I really just want to see it be nationwide
Yeah.
and not to the extent where we like actually follow all of the killings. I want it just more kind of like Sydney's watching the news and like hears about attacks across the country. I'm also not a huge fan of her kids becoming Ghostface.
Nah, me neither.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's too far fetched as well because we already had her brother, her long lost brother, be a killer, and
And
then
her
her
cousin.
cousin in the next movie.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I think family. I don't like that idea because we also had Billy, and then his mother was the killer in the next one. So
Right.
it's all about the family with all these killers. I feel like Stu. We go back to Stu. He's got no relation by blood to
Mhm.
any of these family members. Sorry, any of these previous killers. So I think again, Stu is just prime for a killer. Again,
Yeah.
it's got to happen. It's got to happen. Apologies, guys. I need to skip a few because it keeps building up. Sorry. Dude says Craven made Mark Kincaid far too sinister during his scenes for him not to be the killer, and it still feels off to me. Probably not true, but maybe Mark was originally going to be a killer. No, he wasn't originally going to be a killer. However, I agree. I don't know how you feel about Mark. He always looked suspect in his
Yeah.
scenes, didn't he?
Yeah, I definitely think he's a little suspicious in a lot of scenes, but I guess it's just a red herring.
Yeah, yeah. But the scene when he comes in at the end with his gun, he's like, "What's happening?" Just as Ghostface ran off, he's coming in with a gun. What's
Yeah.
going on? What's going on? And you're like, "What? You look suspect." Yeah. Um, Marvel also said, "Oh, it's not click." Oh, there you go. Oh. For my favorite Ghostface will be Stu and Billy, and the least Richie. Do you know? I didn't mind Richie.
Yeah.
He was. How do you feel about Richie?
He's grown on me a lot. When I first watched Scream 5, I really was not a fan of Richie and Amber, but as time goes on and I every time I watch Scream 5, they grow on me a little bit more, especially after Scream 6's reveal. Like
Uh-huh.
Scream 5's reveal is like great in comparison to
Yeah,
6.
I think
Same with
so.
Amber. Like I really at first I thought Amber was kind of goofy and over the top, and she still kind of is, but like she has grown on me a lot more.
Mhm.
Um yeah, Richie, he's not my favorite, but he's definitely a lot better than Six's reveal.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan of Amber, but I liked Amber's reveal as well because she just pulled out the gun
Yeah,
and then just shot. What's her name? The girl,
Liv.
Liv. Yeah,
I
she shot
always
him.
forget her name too. She's so forgettable.
Yeah, well, it's the opposite of die, Liv. Um, that's how you can remember it now. um, Dude says, call me nuts, but my favorite killer was Debbie Salt, aka Billy's mother. Stu's second place. I actually really liked Debbie Salt. I think she was so annoying, but
Yeah.
she gave as good as she got when it came to her mouthing off with Gail and stuff.
Hmm.
Um, if it turned out that Debbie Salt was going to be the killer and she had no connection to Billy, I would still enjoy that. I liked Debbie Salt. What about you?
Yeah, she's pretty high up there.
Mhm.
Not my favorite, but and I'll never forgive her for what she did to Randy, but
Oh yeah,
she
that's
gave a
true.
pretty good performance.
She got a little knife happy with Randy,
Yeah.
as she says. Yep, we hate her for that. David James said, Stu has been on the return since Scream 2. It will happen eventually. Scream 7 does feel like the most likely to have him return. Could it possibly meet expectations now if it does actually happen? Yeah, I mean, like we've been discussing, I feel like if we see it, they've met my expectations. If we don't see it, I feel like there's a little hole left that needs to be filled in Scream 8.
Yeah.
Like, would you be happy if they don't show him in Scream 7, but we have a killer in Scream 7 that's not revealed?
Um, I will be a little disappointed
Yeah.
because I'm just so expecting him in 7, but then if there's a killer that's not revealed, I'll still be a little hopeful, like, okay, they're saving Stu for 8.
Yeah. And it'll be the same chat again. Like, you
Yeah.
get people saying, yeah, Stu wasn't in Scream 7, you were wrong. And you're like,
Yeah.
well, he could have been in Scream 7 because the killer's not been revealed, because they've never done that before. They've never not revealed a killer in a Scream
Right.
film. And
Yeah.
that reminds me, where the start of Scream 6, when Jason was revealed as the killer, did you feel like
Mhm.
he was going to be the killer throughout the film?
Yeah, I thought we were gonna follow him along the whole movie,
Hmm.
where the audience knew he was the killer, but the characters didn't. So I
Yeah.
was really excited for that. So I did not expect him to die in the
Mhm.
opening.
Same.
So I was a little disappointed that he did because I wanted to follow along with him, but at the same time, I was like surprised. So that was kind of a good twist.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like having a ghost face get away with it at the end or not be revealed definitely would be something new for the franchise and would be
Yeah.
cool to see.
I hope they do that. And I hope they don't waste it like they did with Jason, because I would have
Yeah.
enjoyed seeing Jason walking around. Like, the feeling that I got knowing that Jason was a killer and walking past Tara and talking
Yeah.
to her, I'm like, we know something that Tara doesn't know. That's
Yeah.
it's totally new for the franchise, but it didn't
Yes.
last long.
Right.
So if you're going to do something new, like not reveal the killer, do it properly and not
Mhm.
just kind of make us think that it's going to happen, then it's just they pull it off us again.
Right.
So yeah, something fresh like that would be quite cool.
Mhm.
Uh, Davey said, "I love how in Scream 4, Jill says to Sydney, 'You just won't die, will you? Who are you, Michael fucking Myers?'" Yeah, again, it's another little play on the other horror franchise as well. The dialogue is always good. That was Kevin Williamson came back for Scream 4, I believe,
Mhm.
and you can tell because the dialogue in Scream 4 was tight, just
Yeah.
like the first two movies. Something that was missing from Scream 3.
Mhm.
Did you notice? I've said this before on my channel. Did you notice that Trevor in Scream 4 was wearing the same outfit that Sydney's dad was wearing in Scream 1?
Yes. Yes, I
Yeah.
did. And they kind of had similar fates. Like they were both, tied up in the closet. They were going to be framed. The plan was for them to be framed. Yeah, I
That's
definitely
totally
noticed.
intentional. And it's funny because I never noticed it the first time I watched it, and I didn't see anyone else talk about it. But when I watched it again a few years ago, when Trevor came in and he interrupted Kirby kissing Charlie, and he
Mhm.
sat down, I'm like, he's wearing Sydney's dad's outfit. And then
Yes.
it clicked. I'm like, that's intentional by Wes Craven. Just
Mhm.
small little things like that that you don't appreciate
Yes.
until you see it, and you're like, well done,
Mhm.
really well done. Um, Davey said, Scream 7 should go full meta. It takes place in our world, and there is a killer or killers who are tired of these sequels and they go after the actual actors. Imagine it set at a convention. Yeah, I think that's something I've discussed before, like Wes Craven's New Nightmare, where Robert
Mhm.
Englund is a character in the film, and Heather
Mhm.
Langenkamp. It would be the same as this one. You'd have Drew Barrymore, you'd have David Arquette. So all the people who died would be back basically as
That would be
real
cool.
life. Would you accept that?
I would. I just don't think it should be for Scream 7. I think we have some things to tie up, like,
Mhm.
the whole Stu thing. I think should be tied up in 7, and then maybe with like Scream 8, something like that could
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah, I feel like we've got too much to tell in the movie world still before we
Yes.
even get to that point. I know that was the seventh movie in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise where they've done that, but I think with the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, it went from this right down to this by part 6, so they had to do
Yeah.
something fresh. Whereas
Right.
Scream is still up there. It's, even though 5 and 6 are not the best, it's still got something to offer. So I don't think it
Mhm.
needs to do something that dramatic just yet. Um, but it's still a good idea. I still
Mhm.
like it.
Yeah.
We'll go for another 10 minutes or so. Is that okay?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll go through these chats and then we can wrap it up from then. Let's see. Gary Devlin said Kirby could be caught as the hook to the end of the series if they do want to link it to the 7th movie. Oh, so you mean like Kirby and her own show could be caught? Yeah. So that they could leave a cliffhanger at the end of Kirby's show, and that could be the beginning of Scream 7. I think that's what Gary means, which I would like to see. If we're getting something before Scream 7, I'm
Yeah.
down. Would you like to see a Kirby show or film before Scream 7 or after, if it's coming?
I don't know. I mean, would that even be possible for them to like cast and film and pump it out before Scream 7? I don't
I don't-
know.
yeah, I don't think I'd want to see it anyway, but I don't think so. I think if we're getting
Yeah.
that, we're going to get it after Scream 7, which is
Yeah.
good for us. It's more content.
Yeah, I think Scream 7 is further into production at this point than the spinoff is. So,
Yeah. So ideally, then I would say we get a Scream 7. Maybe there's going to be some sort of spin off in Scream 7 that they could continue on with Kirby, but
yeah.
not including Scream 8. Maybe Scream 7 and 8 could be a direct sequel to Scream 7, of course, but have a
Mhm.
sort of spin off with Kirby's story that, if all else fails, would change the storyline for Scream 8 depending on how it goes.
Yeah.
Um,
A lot of people think that they're going to be filming 7 and 8 at the same time. What do you think
yeah,
about that?
that's another thing I heard. Again, I've not heard it from any like proper sources,
Right.
but that would be quite cool if they'd done that.
Mhm.
If they're going to do that, then they'd have to sign people up for 2 films, like Nev
Right.
Campbell. Nev Campbell will already know what's happening, so
Mhm.
if there's going to be 2 movies, she knows about it already.
Right.
It would be cool. I think it would be an even better way to give a Stu, so that
Yeah.
build that up.
Yeah, I've always said, like, I would love for Stu to be revealed in the final act of 7 and then, like, get away with it at the end to carry us into 8 and have him
Yeah.
be in the full movie of 8. So if that's the case, it would make sense for them to film them at the same time.
Yeah.
And especially, like, because from the filming time to the release date, there's a lot of time in between. So
Mhm.
could they be filming 2 at the same time? I don't know.
Possibly, yeah. I'd say so. Well, it's possible. Anything's possible at this moment.
Yeah.
Um, Marvel said, Christina Carpenter, the mother of Sam. Yes, that's Sam and Tara's mother. She gets mentioned quite a few times to the point where the audience is basically told, pay attention to this mother because she's going to play a
Exactly.
role,
Yes, yes.
because they mention her too many times for us to go, oh, there's no one.
Mhm.
Um, Dude says Greer is annoying in serious films, good in comedies though. I actually really like Judy Greer. Have you seen a film called 13 Going on 30?
Oh, yeah, that's, like, one of my favorite movies of all time.
I love that film with Jennifer Garner. She's good in that as well. She plays the
Yeah.
friend in that. That's the first
Mhm.
film I saw her in, I think. Um, And then I watched Cursed, Wes Craven's Cursed. She was in that as well.
I've never seen that movie. I
Have you
know
not?
it's high up there on my list of things to watch.
Oh, it's totally up your street. You would
I
absolutely love it.
know, I know.
Now, people don't like it, but I love it. I love that film. I won't.
Maybe I'll watch it later tonight.
You should. I won't mention anything, but it plays out like Scream. That's how good it is. It's really good.
Nice.
It had a lot of production issues. Skeet
Mhm.
Ulrich, who plays Billy, he was supposed to
Yeah.
be the main star, and he got cut
Mhm.
midway through, and then they brought in
Yeah.
Joshua Jackson instead. But yeah, you notice a lot of Scream isms in that film.
Mhm.
Gary said, "Is the series actually on Paramount Plus? I've never been able to find it across the streaming service." Do you mean the Scream TV show or the Kirby one that's coming? If you mean the original show, is it on Paramount Plus, the original show?
When I first watched it, it was on Netflix. I don't know if it's still on Netflix or not.
I watched it on Netflix a couple of years ago, but I think I first watched it on VH1 or MTV or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was one of those exclusives, but then Netflix took the rights.
Mhm.
Might still be on Netflix, I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't watched it in several years, so.
Yeah, I'll need to go back to it as well. I watched that maybe 2 years ago. I'm forgetting a lot already.
Yeah, people request for me to like do videos on it, but I need to rewatch it to make
Yeah.
any content for it.
It's the same with me. I mean, I've got this podcast is a dedication to Noah from Scream, the
Mhm.
Morgue, because he's got his own little podcast in the show called The Morgue.
Mhm.
But if you ask me anything about it, I've forgotten already. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'll also need to go back and watch it because
Mhm.
it's like 20 episodes or 24 episodes or something like that in
Mhm.
total. So there's a lot to take in
Yeah.
and a lot you can forget. And it's not like
Mhm.
watching Scream where you take 2 hours out of your day.
Right, yeah.
This is like 8 to 10 hours worth of content you need to watch.
Exactly.
So yeah,
Mhm.
it's quite hard. Art the Clown is probably going to surpass Arthur Joker, though. It's probably not, of course, because the Joker one made over $1 billion, and this one's probably going to make about 300 million, I'd say. Way more than Art the Clown. Dream Villain said, Scream hasn't had a poor or bad movie, unlike the Halloween franchise, which has had its poor entries. That's true. Yeah, that's absolutely true. I think Scream and Evil Dead are probably the strong franchises that don't have bad films, in my opinion. Have you seen the Evil Dead franchise?
I've only seen the original.
Right.
I haven't seen most of them or any of them besides the original.
You should watch them as well. They're pretty good. Funnily enough, the original is the worst one for me. Which,
Really?
yeah, it's the best one for a lot of people, but for me, it's the worst one. But still great. Still love it. As you can
I
see,
enjoyed it.
I've got the Evil Dead remake poster there,
Oh, nice.
or legacy sequel as they call it now. Let's see. I'll do a couple more questions, guys, and then we'll wrap it up. Just going to scroll down a little bit. Apologies. Marvel said, I want this happening. Sydney and Gale die in Scream 7. Kirby series revealed to the ghost faces. The perfect Jill and Kill Kirby. Then everyone reassemble to mentally to mentally break down Sam. Apologies, Marvel. If you can write that again, I don't know what you mean. Sorry. Apologies. Movie Panda said, what's your favourite Tom Matthews film? Who's Tom Matthews?
I don't know.
Um,
Couldn't tell you.
I knew you were talking about that. Tom Matthews from Friday the 13th, I think he's meaning. Part 6. If that's Tom Matthews you mean, then it's going to be Friday the 13th, part 6. So yeah. Let's see. Jean says, do you have a link to Sister Pam's channel? Yes, there is a link. See if you click on, Jean, if you click on the actual title, it's quite good that they do this now. I've done an @ Sister Pam. If you just click on that link, it takes you to Pam's page. I'll be leaving a link down below as well on the description. So if you're watching this after the fact, you can click on the link in the description or on the title as well. And then you can check out our channel from there. Yeah, Gary said Cursed was still cool, but lower expectations slightly, as they could have used having all three of Jackson, Ricci, and Rosenbaum stronger. Yeah, I won't say anything there because I might give something away if you're watching Cursed. But you should check it out.
I definitely will.
Yeah, I think we're kind of caught up then. I'll read one more out and then we can wrap it up. Wrestling God said, here's something to add up to the Stu theory, is that we all know that every single Ghostface killer dies, but the truth is Ghostface never dies because there's more psychos in the world to put. So that's a kind of good end to the live stream. And I think Stu says that as well. No, that's Billy that says that. Can't remember, sorry. But yeah, the Stu theory for us is strong. So to kind of round it up then, Pam, before we go, out of 10, what is the chances, and be honest, what is the chances that Stu will return for Scream 7?
Out of 10?
Yeah.
9.5.
I like your thinking. I'm going to say 9 because I believe that there's so much hype now that with Five Nights at Freddy's, I think Mafia Lillard's stock has just risen to high heights.
Yes.
I don't know if you've noticed this as well, but over the years, Mafia Lillard, he put on quite a bit of weight in his 30s and 40s. And I think over the last 4 or 5 years, he's got himself really fit and he looks a lot better than he did 10 years ago. It's almost like he's preparing for the return of Stu.
Yes.
So,
and also, over the years, he has been very vocal about Stu returning. And in the past year or so, he's really quieted it down, like, because he can't say anything. I think he knows that he's coming back and he can't just actually say, like, yeah, guys, I'm going to be in Scream 7. So he's really like changed his tune. So I think that's a big clue right there.
I think it's funny as well when people say Stu's not returning because the director said that Stu's not returning. And you're like, well, yeah, the director's not going to say to you, Stu's returning. And you're
Exactly.
Like, well,
Exactly.
it's the same if you asked Mafia Lillard, are you returning in Scream 7? He's going to say no because he's not going to say yes.
Exactly. Yes. I always say that.
Yeah, same. So yeah, we've caught up with the chat, guys. It was great having everyone in chatting away there because we've got quite a lot of comments. It was fantastic having you on as well, Pam. That was my first time having you on.
Thank you.
Always nice chatting about Scream because we can talk about Scream for ages. But before we go, do you want to tell the guys, whoever's not subscribed to you, they should go and subscribe, but let the guys know where they can find you and what you're up to on your channel.
Yeah, you can follow me on Sister Pam. That's my channel on YouTube. I have tons of Scream theories over there. You can also follow me on Twitter. I'm at Sister Pam 96. Instagram, surprise_Sister Pam. And TikTok, I'm also Sister Pam, same as my YouTube.
That's good. At least you've got a kind of uniform name, Sister Pam, all the way.
Yeah, I try.
That's how people find it. Like I said, I'll leave the link down below to your channel as well. So anyone who's not subscribed, then definitely go and check her out, especially if you like Scream content, because Scream is probably my second biggest content on my channel as well. I've got lots of Halloween content that do really well. Scream for me is the kind of second biggest for me. So it's good that we're getting another Scream movie for definite.
Yes.
And a potential Kirby spin-off, whether we need it or not, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's more content for us if we get that Kirby spin-off. But if you stay with me just now, Pam, and I'm just going to say goodbye to the guys and we'll call it a day. I just need to get my outro. I always forget my outro. But anyway, guys, thanks a lot for watching again. Thanks for subscribing, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
I'll be right back. What are you waiting for, huh? Coming to get you, Barbara.
Ever played Skin the Cat?
Someone's in the back!